Good afternoon, everyone, and today is Thursday, April 2nd, 2023, and I'd like to ask any members who are calling in to identify themselves at this time. Do we have any on phone?
Yes, Madam President, this is Clint Lorimore.
Just those that are just on a phone. That does
Yes,
not
Madam
identify.
President.
Okay.
Madam President, this is Clint Lorimore on the phone, 5832.
Thank you. Are there any others? Okay, I will now call the meeting of the Regional Council to order. And can we have Mr. Boyles, please, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And we have quorum confirmed. Okay. And before we get into today's business, we need to think about and talk about and acknowledge the recent tragic events in Monterey Park. And certainly our hearts go out to our colleagues who represent those areas, and also to the tragic events in Half Moon Bay. And additionally, in Riverside County, we had 2 deputies shot. So there's a lot that's happened, and I know we all wonder why, but we can reach out and let people know we care, and that's sometimes the best we can do. So please, let's take a moment and to honor them when we can, and if we can just have a moment of silence now, I think it would be appropriate. Thank you, everyone. So back to our business. We are holding this meeting in a hybrid manner, both in person and remotely, in compliance with Brown Act amendments relating to telephonic video conference meetings and the existing declared state of emergency and recommendations of the local public health department to socially distance. Some of our regional council members are participating in person here at SCAG's offices, and others are appearing and participating virtually. We're pleased to announce that SCAG offices are now open for members of the public to attend and participate in person. And since this is a hybrid meeting, members of the public still have the option to attend by telephone or video conference, and we'll provide instructions for public comment momentarily. So before I open the public comment period for matters that are not on the agenda, here are some housekeeping items. Detailed instructions on how to attend the meeting by computer or in person by phone have been provided in advance, and they are also provided in the agenda packet. And for those who are attending the meeting by phone, remember to press star to mute and unmute your phone. And if you wish to raise your hand to be recognized to speak, please press star 9. And please remember to mute yourself after finished speaking so that we can reduce any background noise or interference. So I'll now open the public comment period for this meeting, and there are different ways, 3 ways for the public to participate. And you have the option, but you are not required to submit written comments via email to epubliccomment@scag.ca.gov. And written comments received after 5 p.m. on Wednesday, February 1st, 2023 will be announced and included as part of the official record of the meeting. Have we received any written public comments after the deadline?
Good afternoon, Madam President. Thank you. We did not receive any written comments after the deadline. I'm looking at the clerk to confirm.
We received 15 public comments related to item number 3 before the deadline, which have been posted to the website as well transmitted to the members. We have not received anything after the 5 p.m. deadline.
Great, thank you. Secondly, you may remotely address the regional council in real time and will be allowed a total of 3 minutes to speak on all items on the agenda. If you desire to speak during the public comment period on an item listed on the agenda, please wait for the chair to call the item. When the item is called, use the raise hand function on your computer or that's *9 by phone and wait for SCAG to acknowledge you. Thirdly, you may verbally address the regional council in person and will be allowed a total of 3 minutes to speak on all items on the agenda. If you desire to speak in person, you are invited but not required to fill out and present a public comment card to the clerk of the board prior to speaking. For purposes of providing public comment for items listed on the consent calendar, please indicate that you wish to speak when the consent calendar is called. And items that are listed on the consent calendar will be acted upon with one motion, and there will be no separate discussion of these items unless a member of the legislative body so requests, and in which event the item will be considered separately. So this is the time for members of the public to offer comment for matters that are within SCAG's jurisdiction, but are not listed on the agenda. If you would like to speak on an agenda item, please wait for the time to be called. Do we have any members of the public with raised hands?
Madam President, I do not see any raised hands.
Thank you so much. And I'd like to remind everyone one more time to unmute your phone before speaking, state your name during deliberations. And when you offer a motion or a second, please identify yourself at that time as well. And again, for those who join by phone, press *6 to mute and unmute. So we'll go to everybody's favorite, the first action item, findings to continue holding virtual regional council and committee meetings under AB 361. And I will turn to Ruben Duran, our board counsel, for a presentation.
Good afternoon, Madam President, members of the RC. We're all looking at Mr. McCallum to see if he's going to interrupt me to make his motion, but if he does not, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Move approval.
Second.
McCallum.
So our motion is McCallum, our second is Marquez. Okay, thank you. I hope everyone savored all those instructions that we presented earlier, because it may be one of the last times you get to hear it. So we have a motion and a second. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Madam President, I just want to verify that we allowed for public comment for this. item.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Is there any public comment on this? Thank you very much.
And I do not see any raised hands.
Great, thank you.
Ashley Aitken,
Yes.
Cindy Allen,
Aye.
Adele Andrade Stadler. Adele Andrade Stadler. Constantine Anthony. Catherine Barger,
Yes.
Karen Bass. Elizabeth Becerra,
Yes.
Bob Blumenfield. Gary Boyer,
Yes.
Drew Boyles,
Yes.
Art Brown, Wendy Bucknam,
Yes.
Letitia Clark, Margaret Clark,
Yes.
Jenny Crosswhite,
Yes.
Kevin De Leon, Steve DeRoos, Keith Ike, Margaret Finley,
Yes.
James Gaisley.
Wait 1 second here, please.
Was that a yes for James Gaisley?
Yeah, Gaisley, aye.
Thank you. Brian Goodell,
Aye.
Kurt Hagman, Ray Hamada, Jan Harnick,
Yes.
Marquise Harris Dawson, Mark Henderson,
Yes.
Eunices Hernandez, Laura Hernandez,
Yes.
Heather Hutt, Mike Judge,
Yes.
Joe Kalmick, Kathleen Kelly,
Yes.
Tammy Kim,
Yes.
Lauren Clayman, Paul Krikorian, Linda Krupa,
Yes.
John Lee, Patricia Locke Dawson, Vianney Lopez, Clint Lorimore,
Aye. Aye.
Ken Mann, thank you, Ken Mann, Steve Manos,
Yes.
Ray Marquez,
Yes.
Andrew Maciel, Larry McCallan,
Yes.
Casey McKeon, Marsha McLean,
Yes.
Tim McOsker,
Yes.
Dennis Michael,
Yes.
Marisela Nava, Maria Nava Frolic,
Yes.
Frank Navarro,
Yes.
Kim Nguyen, Oscar Ortiz, Tracy Park, Luis Blancarte,
Blancarte, yes.
Karen Price, Randall Putz,
Yes.
Sandy Rains,
Abstain.
Nithya, thank you. Nithya Raman, Gil Rebollar,
Aye.
Rocky Rhodes,
Yes.
Rex Richardson, Deborah Robertson,
Yes.
Monica Rodriguez, Ali Saleh, Tim Sandoval,
Sandoval, yes.
Zach Schwank,
Schwank, yes.
David Shapiro,
Yes.
Marty Siminoff,
Yes.
Jose Luis Solache, Hilda Solis, Hugo Soto Martinez, Karen Spiegel,
Yes. Spiegel, yes.
thank you. Steve Ty, Benjamin Vasquez,
Yes.
thank you. Donald Wagner,
Aye.
Alan Wapner,
Yes.
Frank Yokoyama,
Yes.
Katie Yaroslavsky. Madam President, the motion for item 1 passes with 43 votes yes, 0 votes no, and 1 abstention.
Andrade Stadler here says yes.
Thank you and noted.
Okay, thank you. The next item, and this is an action item. And well, we'll go through this and then I'd like to make a determination from the body if it is acceptable to them to add into the vote, the consent calendar with this. And if you find for some reason it would not be acceptable to add to number 2 in the vote, the consent calendar, then we will go accordingly. But let's see how this goes. And number 2 is an overview of a regional transportation safety priorities and recommendation to adopt the 2023 safety targets. Are there any public comments for this item?
I do not see any raised hands, Madam President.
Thank you. Okay, I will turn to our Executive Director, Komea Jise.
Thank you, Madam President. On average, each year in Southern California, we lose about 1,450 people to traffic collisions, 5,500 people seriously injured, and 124,000 injured in these traffic collisions on average every year. To address this disturbing trend, SCAG continues to work very closely with federal, state, and local partners to develop comprehensive strategies and plans to reduce fatalities and serious injuries on our system. Through partnerships, SCAG has also been able to develop a robust safety program in-house to bring resources to our local communities in order to save lives. These numbers are really sobering. Many of our cities and counties have been recipients of educational resources and technical assistance through Go Human program, which is a program that we've used to for about the last decade to encourage and promote safety. And I want to take a moment to thank the California Office of Traffic Safety for their ongoing support of that program, which has been, I think, very important to us in this region. And the esteemed leader of OTS, the Office of Traffic Safety, Barbara Rooney, is with us today. And I'm going to introduce her in a minute to sort of lead off the conversation on safety. The education and planning work that we pursue through Go Human is rooted in a data-driven approach, which includes establishing annual safety targets for the region. The development of these targets is also a federal requirement under the Federal Transportation Authorization Map 21. So your action today is to approve the annual safety targets for the region. To provide some context around the challenges and insights for achieving these targets, we've invited Barbara Rooney, the director of the California Office of Traffic Safety under Governor Gavin Newsom, for her to provide some opening comments. As the OTS director, Barbara manages almost $100 million in federal funding for traffic safety grants across the state, many of those benefiting the SCAG region. She also provides leadership at the national level as the chair of the Governor's Highway Safety Association. It has been my pleasure to serve with Barbara on the Executive Leadership Committee of the Caltrans Strategic Highway Safety Plan, where she continues to lead the charge for innovative approaches to getting to zero deaths. And once Barbara is done, we'll have a staff presentation with Michael Gaynor providing some report on the traffic safety, on the safety targets before we ask for your discussion on the item. So with that, I want to thank Barbara again for joining us. And Barbara, are you on?
Absolutely. Can you hear me?
There you go. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, Madam President and council members. Thank you for having me. It is an exciting, but also the most challenging time in transportation safety. And I want to thank Kome and Sarah and all of you, the Regional Council, for your leadership. SCAG is a longtime partner of the Office of Traffic Safety and continues to provide critical safety work, policies, and plans to advance transportation safety for nearly half of the state's population. It's important to discuss how we can all collaborate and partner to drive local change. But just a little bit about the Office of Traffic Safety. For those of you who are unfamiliar, we fund more than $100 million annually through federal funds made available to the state of California by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, or NHTSA. We work with about 300 state and local agencies on innovative, evidence-based behavioral safety programs. It is our vision that all Californians can go everywhere, and that everyone can travel safely. We take a leadership role in our efforts to make transportation safe for all road users. We are the state's voice for traffic safety, and we aim to educate the public on safe driving habits and to be that primary source of information on traffic safety. But I want to provide greater context and understanding of why achieving these safety targets together are important. The most devastating issues we are experiencing right now is a crisis on our roadways. Roadway deaths in the SCAG region, the state, and in America deserve more attention than it gets. Everyone here today plays an essential role in addressing traffic violence. Last month in South LA's Broadway, Manchester neighborhood, Deborah Amaya was driving her two sons to their grandmother's, and a suspected hit-and-run driver smashed into her car, killing her 13-year-old son, Christopher, and 18-month-old son, Damien. And here's what Deborah told the reporters. My kids were everything. There wasn't a day I didn't remind them they were everything to me. It's sad now. I'm never going to see them again. Preliminary data for the city of Los Angeles shows 312 people were killed in traffic crashes last year. This is the highest total in 20 years and a nearly 30% increase from 2020. And of those killed in crashes, about half, or 159 people, were pedestrians struck by car drivers. 20 more people riding bikes were killed by drivers. And yes, that's more than half of those killed were not in cars. In fact, Crosstown reported more people in LA were killed in traffic crashes last year than by gun violence. There are thousands of lives lost every year in this country, and NHTSA projects nearly 43,000 lives lost in 2021. The highest number in nearly 2 decades, and the highest annual percentage increase, and listen to this, since data was first collected nearly a half a century ago. And for context, that's about the combined population of 4 SCAG member cities. Most traffic deaths are not major headlines. A quick Google search is a stark reminder of how a life lost is just a blip among so many, including those hurt by previous transportation decisions, people in communities guided by systemic racism, inequitable policies, literal barriers that divided communities who became more at risk of dying in a traffic crash compared to more affluent areas. Society has become used to roadway deaths, but it shouldn't be, and together we can change that. We should not, as a society, accept nearly 10 people killed on average every day, walking, rolling, or driving in California. This is not that it's just how it is, that this is the status quo. It cannot be the status quo. And if you think about flying just for a moment, it's safer to fly thousands of feet in the air, traveling at nearly the speed of sound, than it is to walk or bike across town. They should both be just as safe. So traffic safety deserves our undivided attention. We talk about zero as the end goal, the crowning achievement for roadway safety. While achieving zero is not going to happen overnight, it's important to think about both short-term and long-term, and about how we reverse the course and go down the road to zero. Ambitious safety targets and performance measures align our actions, but thinking more boldly beyond goals set on a yearly or a 5-year basis. What if we reduce traffic deaths by 10% in the next decade, or 25%? When will we achieve 50% reduction? How do we get there? Zero sounds unrealistic, unattainable, or impossible. And you've probably heard this, but let me ask you, what is an acceptable number of traffic deaths for your best friend, your partner, your mom, your dad, your son, your daughter, or even your coworker? When it's you, zero does become real. Zero doesn't sound impossible. But the point here is that traffic deaths are not inevitable. They are not acceptable. Transportation safety can never be overlooked. So I want to leave you with 2 things. What we are doing to change a culture that may not recognize the seriousness of our roadway safety crisis, and why we need your help. The OTS is leveraging once in a generation investments from IIJA or the bipartisan infrastructure law. The federal government has made significant investments in transportation safety. We are well positioned to take advantage of this historic level of funding. We have more funding than we have ever had. We are offering direct federal support to local agencies in California. Government entities can come directly to the Office of Traffic Safety. And let's take SCAG, your organization, for example. With OTS funding, your mini grants program completed 26 service projects and events to increase safety in historically disadvantaged areas most impacted by traffic deaths and injuries. And your kit of parts were used at 13 events to showcase temporary infrastructure improvements like artistic crosswalks, protected bike lanes, and curb extensions that improve biking and walking safety. SCAG also partnered with Caltrans Active Transportation Resource Center to provide the kit of parts to 3 locations outside of SCAG region. And there's more where that came from this year. Community engagement projects that allow residents to identify and solve their unique traffic safety issues improves active transportation safety in their communities, supports complete streets planning, and strengthens relationships with their local officials. This type of grassroots engagement with marginalized communities allows people to claim ownership of safe streets and public spaces, and channeling that community support goes a long way in addressing equitable outcomes in traffic safety. Engaging with our underserved communities so they have a voice in crucial program planning decisions will drive behavior change and reduce racial disparities in traffic safety. And through the new public participation and engagement and community collaboration requirements in federal law within IIJA, there is a promise of gaining meaningful input from the public on how we are spending our federal funding. Funding will be prioritized to improve safety in communities identified as underserved, who often face the highest rate of traffic deaths. And here's where we need your help. It's going to take a focused set of safety strategies to tackle the crisis with a sense of urgency. That is our collective focus. Safety is a shared responsibility where everyone has a role to play. All road users, the managers of the road infrastructure, vehicle manufacturers, we all share in this responsibility. And we must make the public aware that we are experiencing a crisis. We must open society's eyes and have a call to action so that the public is more immersed and invested in the issues on our roads. We should expect safety in every mode of transportation, and all effective countermeasures are needed. Equitable enforcement practices that deter the most dangerous driving behaviors. Robust, complete streets that slow down drivers and protect non-vehicle road users. Public education and awareness campaigns developed with community input. Vehicle technology that accounts for driver mistakes, and proactive safety data and enhanced post-crash care that all work together to create these added layers of protection. It's about encouraging a fundamentally safer culture for drivers, bicyclists, pedestrians, and all road users. So let's buck the alarming trend that we've seen in the past few years and start new successful interventions. And to be clear, our why, what drives our collective action in transportation, is people. At the center of everything we are doing, we are working to improve the lives of people in the state and in your communities. We can achieve this outcome together, and we welcome collaboration with you in achieving your traffic safety goals for your community. So let's create some new opportunities. Let's be innovative in our approaches to safety, and dare I say, let's push the limits and test new and emerging technology. We value the SCAG partnership, and I look forward to seeing what we can do and what we can achieve together. So again, thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you, and I am happy to take any of your questions.
Thank you so much, Director Rooney, for all that information. And that is stunning, and it gives us all a moment to pause and to think. Are there any questions or comments here in the room? Okay, yes, Margaret Finley, please.
Thank you. Excellent presentation, certainly compelling evidence. My question is, though, for us to be able to come up with strategies to address this, I think we probably have to know why. Is this people with being on cell phones, whether they are pedestrians or in cars? Where do we start? It just seems so comprehensive.
Yeah, it really is. Everything starts with problem identification. And that's what we do when we look at all of our traffic safety problems here in the state. And when you do problem identification, you start with data. You look at your data. There are a lot of other input channels. We, as you heard me mention, will be looking beyond just what we can find in crash data, in the fatalities and serious injury data, and looking at the equity data related to individuals that are victims or those that are involved in crashes. But also getting community input. And this is where I really invite you to really partner together with me. We are moving forward with new requirements for public participation and engagement. And I think that is another data source for us to truly understand what our communities are perceiving as their most challenging traffic safety issues. So I hope that helps, but where we usually start is with data, and we overlay that data and we try to get as much input as possible. But we, moving forward, are creating a public participation and engagement plan for our efforts to identify and engage with communities to understand. We've done a really good job of getting out and inviting local government to come to us and ask us for funding to help solve some of what you're hearing in your communities, whether that's educational programming around distracted driving, whether you are perceiving a need for more pedestrian bicycle safety training or education, or whether you're having a problem with impaired driving in your community. We also fund enforcement efforts related to that and education around prevention of impaired driving. So there's a whole host of things that we can bring to the table, but it's really starting with that problem identification, and we can certainly be of help to you in that area.
And just a quick follow-up. Thank you for that answer. COVID, one way or the other, that it impacted traffic or accidents?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And sadly, what we saw are some very alarming trends through COVID. You would think with the reduced number of vehicles on our roadway that we would have seen a significant drop off. Unfortunately, what we saw on our roads during COVID were our riskiest drivers were out on the road. We saw extreme and excessive speeding. And it has taken some time to see the speeding violations drop off as traffic began to come back onto the road. Clearly, that had an impact in slowing down some of these risky driving behaviors on the road. Sadly, we've also seen an increase in impaired driving as a result of the pandemic. So NHTSA is studying it. I think we're going to be studying the impacts of this pandemic for some time to understand, the impact that it's had on traffic safety. But sadly, it's really, it's been terrible for traffic safety. We have trended in the wrong direction in two of our critical areas, which is impaired driving and speeding.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other comments or questions in the room? Okay, I'll go to
Hi.
virtually.
Excuse
and I
me.
see
Hello, I had my hand up. This is Marsha
okay,
McLean.
I understand, and we were doing the attendees in the room first, and now we're going virtually, and I
Okay.
am calling in order. So Supervisor Spiegel, you're next, please.
Yes, I appreciate your presentation and the sense of urgency. Now, when you were talking about data, what data do we have on those walking and in terms of injury, death, and specifically in crosswalks, not in crosswalks?
Yeah, thank you for the question. When it comes to data, admittedly, a lot of the data that we have traditionally relied on in traffic safety to solve our traffic safety issues, frankly, is old. It is not real-time data. So it makes it very challenging when you're looking at fatalities and serious injuries, we're often going to crash reports. The California Highway Patrol houses what we call SWITers. It's the statewide system whereby all allied law enforcement agencies submit their crash reports to the state of California, and then all of that is rolled up. Within SWITers, that's not even final numbers. There are that's preliminary. There is a lot of data that gets added after crashes, for example, are investigated. So it's very hard for us as practitioners to really rely on final data, because that final data, by the time we get to it, it's about 2 years old. So it's really important, and I frankly encourage you, I've had some conversations with COME on this very point, to look at opportunities to use your local data is always very helpful. Anything you have is certainly fresher than what NHTSA or the state of California is going to have and be able to rely on. So using anything that you have that reflects what's happening in your community with your pedestrians and your vulnerable road users is very helpful. But I personally am really excited about the possibility of piloting and exploring the use of real-time information that could help inform where there's the potential for crashes to occur in certain areas. And I think there'll be more to come on that in the future, but this is an area we really need to work on and improve. If we're truly going to be able to solve the problems, we really need to have valuable, timely and complete data.
Right, which leads me to when we're saying we don't have the complete data, I was very alarmed, and I hope other people are that are on this call, because I'm getting it from communities. And that was the whole, the lack of enforcement now on jaywalking. I was almost appalled that was pulled back. And that's why I'm asking about data. Is there suddenly nobody having challenges walking and being hit? And I know what it's done is it's not enforcing people jaywalking, but yet you use the word urgency and all these words that we need to, and of course it's the kids too. Mm-hmm. And if the kids are now told, oh, you can just cross anywhere because it's no longer illegal. And that's the message that by allowing this, and I was the word appalled, because what you're doing is you're opening a can of worms. And if we're now pushing on the other end of saying the urgency, I just see it's really confusing.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the contradiction that you're seeing there. And just to be clear, I don't have the legislation in front of me. I too am concerned around the messaging related to the implementation of that statute. However, it is still unlawful when there is imminent danger present. So it is merely attempting to address those instances where there is no threat in terms of it, but should there be a threat, it is absolutely a citable violation. But I can appreciate the concern and how that is being messaged, because I too have heard just my daughter, I will tell you, my 23-year-old daughter sent a text on our family thread, a few weeks back and said, hey, fun fact, jaywalking is legal now in California. And I said, fun fact, let me clarify what is and what isn't. So just to give you that example that, in terms of how it is being messaged, particularly with young people, and that is very concerning. Again, there are tools. I will tell you that UC Berkeley Safe Track has, and we fund this effort, there is a system there called Street Story, and we are promoting that tool right now, wherein citizens, individuals who have near hit experiences are encouraged to report those near hit experiences to Street Story. So we are trying to create tools and data points out there that will help fill in some blanks on where we are seeing some of this behavior. But I won't pretend to tell you that all of the data out there is perfect. But I do think there's a lot more available to you, you know, at the local level than we have at the state level. As I said, the state level data tends to be rather stale by the time we are relying on it to develop countermeasures to address these issues.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, we'll move to Miss McLean, please.
Hi, thank you very much. Good afternoon. Excuse me. Thank you for being here. Just to introduce myself, I am City Councilwoman for the City of Santa Clarita. I'm also past chair and current vice chair of the North County Transportation Coalition. I'm the chair of the San Fernando Valley COG, and our organizations, along with our city, are very concerned about traffic and road safety. And we diligently go after any dollars necessary in order to promote road safety and to get it fixed. I'm a little bit alarmed that the governor's budget, he's proposing $2.5 billion cut from transportation and infrastructure programs and projects. And hearing your concern, I'm wondering if you do have the governor's ear and let him know that it's extremely important for our safety, our residents' safety, and for road safety, and to help with your figures to put those dollars back into funding projects that could lead to road safety and traffic safety.
Thank you. I appreciate the comment, and I will certainly pass that along to our agency secretary, Tokes Omashakin, who does have frequent dialogue with our governor on these challenges. But I can assure you, when it comes to safety, it is CalSTA's #1 priority. It is the #1 priority for our Secretary of Transportation, with particular emphasis on resolving these challenges around our vulnerable road users, where we're seeing these troubling trends occurring.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and I do see Mr. Michael's hand is up.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I'm kind of curious, when you deal with the data that you've collected, with the legality of being able to cross highways or roadways outside of going through a crosswalk, what kind of information or data are you dealing with homeless incidents where there is mental illness or just a disregard for their own safety, of the accident rate crossing outside of crosswalks? I'm not sure that would make a difference for that community, but do you have data on how many of these incidents occur with homeless individuals?
I personally do not, but that is certainly information that you know, I can confer with Caltrans to see on the state highway system whether that is a data point. It is not data that I personally have, but it is certainly something I can explore and get back to you if you'd like.
That's fine. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. We do have a member of the public who would like to speak to this. Please, if you would take 2 minutes and introduce yourself, we appreciate it.
Chair, members of the council, Dan Silver speaking as private citizen. Another contradiction. Another contradiction is that LA Metro, just as we speak, is approving dozens of digital billboards across this city. We all know that these distract drivers. Why are we digging this hole deeper? And what is the state doing about it? Thank you.
Thank you. And now I'll turn back to, yes.
Madam President, I believe there was one more individual from the public who wanted to address the RC on this item.
Is there another member?
They've since left, or it was Mr. Silver. Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you so
Sorry
much.
for the confusion.
Okay, I will turn back then to our executive director.
Well, thank you. I think that was a great presentation, Barbara. Thank you so much for joining us. I just want to again note that Barbara's Office of Traffic Safety has been a great supporter of our work in the region, and we continue to collaborate with them. And they fund us very well for the work that we do on Go Human. And so I want to take this moment to just thank her publicly and for her leadership across the nation on the issue of safety. She's a really trusted voice on this issue. So thanks, Barbara. We're going to ask Michael Gaynor to do a quick presentation, and I'm emphasizing quick presentation, Michael, on setting up for the safety targets before we take board action.
Yeah, thanks, Comey. Good morning, Regional Council members. My name again is Mike Gaynor. I'm a Senior Regional Planner here at SCAG, and today I'll be presenting to you our recommended Regional Transportation Safety Performance Targets for calendar year 2023. And I just wanted to agree with Ms. Rooney on her great presentation and call to action, and our concurrence that zero deaths must remain our motivational focus as we conduct our transportation safety planning activities. And we're continuing to look forward to working with OTS and strengthen our partnership as we work toward achieving that zero traffic deaths in the SCAG region, particularly through advances in our ability to leverage opportunities provided through emergent safety data, analytical and modeling tools. But anyway, moving forward with our presentation here, I'll start off with a brief overview of the Federal Transportation Safety Performance Management requirements. PM1, Performance Management Package 1, is the element of the MAP 21 rulemaking that identified the specific metrics to be used for assessing transportation system safety performance. PM1 established 5 safety performance measures for which statewide and regional targets are required to be updated on an annual basis. And as you see on the slide, those include the total number of fatalities, the rate of fatalities per 100 million VMT, the total number of serious injuries, the rate of serious injuries per 100 million VMT, and the total combined number of non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries. And this data is reported in 5-year rolling averages. Next slide, please. Yeah, there we go. Unlike PM2, which evaluates national highway system pavement and bridge condition, and PM3, which focuses on national highway system overall performance. The PM1 targets are updated every calendar year as opposed to every 4 years. And this annual process begins with Caltrans adopting its statewide performance targets, which is usually at the end of August of each year. And MPOs, including SCAG, then have 180 days to establish a corresponding set of regional safety targets, which is at the end of February, the end of this month. Statewide performance toward achievement of the annual safety targets is reviewed by the Federal Highway Administration to determine whether significant progress has been demonstrated over the previous calendar year. And FHWA defines significant progress as having met 4 of the 5 safety targets, or if observed performance shows improvement over the preceding year. Next slide, please. SCAG then coordinates closely with Caltrans throughout the statewide safety target setting process. In setting our annual regional safety targets, SCAG follows 3 basic steps as shown on your screen, involving estimating regional trends in transportation safety to assess baseline conditions, identify any emergent or ongoing external factors that might impact safety. And we use our internal safety model to generate targets based on forecasted fatality and serious injury trends in the region. Next slide, please. And having concluded this process for 2023. The recommended transportation safety performance targets in the SCAG region for calendar year 2023 are shown on the slide, which is 1,511 fatalities for a rate per 100 million VMT of 0.95. Number of serious injuries, 7,165 approximately, resulting in a rate of 4.5 per 100 million VMT, and the combined total of non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries, the target would be 2,140. Next slide, please. And for our next steps, following adoption, hopefully today by the Regional Council, we will submit our 2023 targets to Caltrans on or before February 28th. However, I want to stress that our work continues throughout the year on our safety target development as we assess regional progress toward improving the safety of our regional multimodal transportation system and begin preparations for updating the targets for the next calendar year. As we are also now and currently in the process of developing Connect's SoCal 2024, we will continue to coordinate with our regional partners on a wide range of transportation safety initiatives and projects that will facilitate achievement of the targets as well as our more aspirational goals of 0 deaths. And as these efforts include enhancements to improve our ability to more proactively predict and mitigate highway safety risks, particularly for the more vulnerable road users in the region. And as Ms. Rooney described in her presentation, it is important to emphasize the use of dynamic data sources that represent more current and emergent trends and conditions in highway safety as we develop a more comprehensive approach and a more proactive approach to reducing fatalities and serious injuries in the region. Next slide, please. And again, we are recommending that the Regional Council adopt the proposed regional transportation safety targets for the calendar year 2023. And thank you again for allowing me this time to speak with you today. And I turn it over to the chair.
I'll take it. Thank you so much. Are there any comments or questions of Mr. Gaynor at this time here in the room? And are there any virtually? Okay, I see none.
Madam
So
President, I will move it along with the consent calendar.
So what we're hearing from our second vice president is that if we can take a roll call for item number 2, which is the item we just heard, and then items 4 through 16. So we have a motion.
Carta second.
Okay, and I do see a hand up. Mr. Navarro?
Yes, thank you, Madam President. I want to second the second vice president's motion.
Okay, we have then a motion, and I think we already had a second, and from whom? Plancarte. Okay, so can we please have a roll call vote? And we have significant work to complete today, so please be ready to vote. Thank you.
Ashley Aiken,
Aye.
Cindy Allen. Cindy Allen. Adele Andrade Stadler.
Aye.
Constantine Anthony. Catherine Barger. Karen Bass. Elizabeth Becerra.
Aye.
Bob Blumenfield. Gary Boyer.
Yes.
Drew Boyles.
Yes.
Art Brown. Wendy Bucknam.
Aye. Are we also voting on the minutes?
Yes.
I would need to abstain just from that because I wasn't in attendance at the last meeting. Thank you.
Noted. Thank you. Letitia Clark.
Yes.
Margaret Clark.
Yes.
Jenny Crosswhite.
Yes.
Kevin De Leon, Steve DeRoos, Keith Ike.
Yes.
I'm sorry, is that for Keith Ike?
Yes, for Keith Ike.
Thank you so much. Margaret Finley,
Yes.
James Gaisley,
Aye.
Brian Goodell,
Aye.
Kurt Hagman,
Hagman, aye.
Ray Hamada, Jan Harnick,
Yes.
Marquise Harris Dawson, Mark Henderson,
Yes.
Eunices Hernandez, Laura Hernandez,
Yes.
Heather Hutt, Mike Judge,
Yes.
Joe Kalmick,
Yes.
Kathleen Kelly,
Yes.
Tammy Kim,
Yes.
Lauren Clayman,
Yes.
Paul Krikorian, Linda Krupa,
Yes.
John Lee, Patricia Locke Dawson,
Aye.
Hang on one second. I got to vote on this meeting.
Vianney Lopez, Clint Lorimore,
Aye. Aye.
thank you. Ken Mann, Steve Manos,
Yes.
Ray Marquez, Andrew Maciel, Larry McCallan,
Yes.
Casey McKeon, Marsha McLean,
Yes.
Tim McOsker,
McCosker, yes.
Dennis Michael,
Yes.
Maricela Nava,
Yes.
Maria Nava Frolic,
Yes.
Frank Navarro,
Yes.
Kim Nguyen,
Yes.
Oscar Ortiz, Tracy Park, Luis Blancarte,
Blancarte, aye.
Current Price, Randall Putz,
Yes.
Sandy Rains,
Yes, and abstain from the minutes portion.
noted, thank you. Nithya Raman,
Yes.
Gail Rebollar,
Aye.
Rocky Rhodes,
Yes, with an abstain for minutes.
noted, thank you. Rex Richardson, Deborah Robertson,
Yes.
Monica Rodriguez, Ali Saleh, Tim Sandoval,
Sandoval, yes.
Zach Schwank,
Schwank, yes.
David Shapiro,
Yes.
Marty Siminoff, Marty Siminoff, Jose Luis Solache, Hilda Solis, Hugo Soto Martinez, Karen Spiegel,
Spiegel, yes.
Steve Ty, Benjamin Vasquez,
Yes, and abstain from the minutes.
noted, thank you. Donald Wagner,
Wagner, aye.
Alan Wapner,
Yes.
Frank Yokoyama,
Yes.
Katie Yaroslavsky. Madam President, the motion for item 2 and the consent calendar passes with 50 votes yes, 0 votes no, and 4 abstentions on the minutes.
Thank you so much. We'll now move to item number 3, the final draft ramp policy framework. And I will call on our Executive Director, Kome Ajise.
Thank you, Madam President. As you may all recall, the RAMP ATG wrapped up their work last year and sent the Regional Advanced Mitigation Planning Policy Framework to our Energy Environment Committee, EEC, last month for discussion. That committee has recommended this item to be approved here today. You want to do public comments first?
It's up to you. You can take it now or take it later.
Your preference.
Might as well ask.
Shall we do public? I saw the hands popping up. Shall we go to public comment now? And why don't we do that? And I would like to start in the room, Mr. Silver. And given the number of our public or entity that would like to comment, I'd like to limit the comments to 2 minutes so that we can complete this item. So please, Mr. Silver.
Good afternoon again, Dan Silver, now representing Endangered Habitats League, Los Angeles-based conservation group. We're strongly in support of the RAMP policy framework. As you'll hear, it converts piecemeal, time-consuming, costly project-by-project analysis and mitigation into time-saving, comprehensive mitigation. And it's been my observation that the conservation benefits are actually really enormous because we can target strategic properties. I've observed this on the ground in 3 counties, in San Diego, in Riverside, and in Orange with the respective transportation agencies. This has been going on now for 20 years. It has a track record of success. It works. It saves the agencies time and money, and it produces great results. We also recommend that on the Greenprint Technical Advisory that a nonprofit environmental representative be included. Thank you very much for the progress on RAMP.
Thank you. Next in the queue is Ray Baca, please.
Yes, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good afternoon. This is Ray Baca, Executive Director for the Engineering Contractors Association of Southern California. The members of our association greatly appreciate the work that has already been performed on this matter, and we believe that the revised draft RAMP policy framework is it's a much improved document and takes into consideration all of the many concerns that had been brought up throughout the process, much earlier in the process. Collectively, we support this final RAMP policy framework, including the amendments made by the EEC last month. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Lambros.
Well, good afternoon, President Harnick, members of the Regional Council, Rich Lambros with the Southern California Leadership Council. I'm very pleased to be here today to express our strong support for the RAMP policy framework that's before you today, inclusive of the amendments that were taken at the January EEC meeting. That's the document as it appears in your agenda packet. You know, a lot of you will remember that back in 2021, on a couple of occasions, the Greenprint issue came before this regional council. In fairness, it was a bit controversial. And I think wisely, the RC decided in October of that year to pause the issue, create an advisory task group made up of policymakers from the regional council to dig in and get this policy right. And that's exactly what's happened. We really want to thank the ATG members, SCAG staff, the work that was done over about a year. And I know it took some time, but the result is a document today that I think you're going to hear is supported by all stakeholders. You're going to hear business representatives and I think environmental community representatives. One small, and we believe it's a modest addition we would like to recommend would be the addition of one additional seat on the new Greenprint Technical Advisory Committee for a business representative. We ask for that. We support the addition of an environmental representative, which was motioned and approved by the EEC last month. We think a business rep would be great to add as well for balance. Those 2 stakeholder groups were the most active on this issue throughout the process, and it'd be good to have them on the TAC. And that's our one additional ask, and we hope you'll consider that. But again, strong support for this document and deep appreciation to SCAG for taking the time to get this right. We really appreciate it and appreciate Regional Council leadership on this, along with staff leadership. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Faulkner, please.
Yes, good afternoon. First of all, thank you, members of the board and council for allowing me to represent the Surfrider Foundation. My name is Casey Faulkner, and I live here in the Huntington Beach area and former chair of the Huntington Seal Beach Surfrider Foundation, now the North Orange County chapter. Surfrider is excited to see the regional advanced mitigation planning move forward. This policy framework is an opportunity to address our region's infrastructure needs while maximizing environmental and economic benefits for mitigation investments. Growing housing and transportation needs must be balanced, coupled with addressing our increasingly predominant gaps in environmental justice, coastal preservation, climate, air, and water quality. As a part of this process, we recognize the importance of the Greenprint Technical Advisory Committee and strongly support the inclusion of at least one environmental representative on the committee. Stakeholder groups must be inclusive and transparent, and having a member of the public representing the nonprofit selector will help serve that end. Surfrider agrees with our partners at Better World Group that SCAG should add additional criteria for selecting the new TAC member. This criteria was described in their letter that Surfrider signed on to. The criteria will help ensure an unbiased voice for the community is represented on TAC so that we can move forward with advancing mitigation planning and smart development here in Orange County. We further support the continuation of SCAG's SoCal Greenprint, a public mapping tool that would support environmental justice communities across the region by advancing access to data that can inform smarter planning decisions. It will also help us plan for rising seas, preserve our precious beaches and waves for all people to enjoy.
Time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Ms. Duperon, I hope I have that even close.
It was perfect. Good afternoon, Chair and members. My name is Donna Duperon. On behalf of the Torrance Area Chamber of Commerce, I would like to extend appreciation to RAMP ATG members and the SCAG staff for taking the time necessary to seek additional stakeholders' input on RAMP and Greenprint. We thank you and strongly urge your adoption of the RAMP policy framework as currently proposed. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Medina, please.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Chair and members of the Regional Council. My name is Connor Medina, the Government Affairs Manager for the Orange County Business Council, the leading voice of business in Orange County. Thank you to the RAMP ATG members and SCAG staff for really hearing input from the business community and other stakeholders throughout this process on RAMP and Greenprint. We believe that the revised draft RAMP policy framework, as it was unanimously adopted by the RAMP ATG and the EEC, incorporates the feedback communicated to SCAG. And therefore, OCBC is very pleased to support the final proposed RAMP policy framework with the addition of the 2 amendments made by the EEC at their meeting on January 5th. We appreciate that the proposed policy framework takes a fresh approach toward Greenprint by more clearly separating RAMP from Greenprint and resetting the process for Greenprint so that the more appropriate framework and oversight structure are established. We commend staff for their responsiveness to the various input received, which has made the policy framework much better in its support of the RAMP and ultimately the development of an appropriate Greenprint data tool. OCBC also recommends another amendment, adding 1 more seat to the Greenprint TAC for a business community representative with experience in RAMP. Adding a business representative would balance the addition of an environmental representative, which was incorporated by the EEC. Irrespective of including a business representative, though, I want to be clear that OCBC supports the RAMP policy framework as recommended by the EEC, but we do join Mr. Lambros and others in asking that one be added to include perspectives from the broad range of stakeholders that have been involved in this process from the beginning. Again, thank you to SCAG staff and leadership for taking the time to get this right. Considering this, we respectfully ask the Regional Council to approve the proposed RAMP policy framework as recommended by the EEC and request 1 additional amendment to include a business rep on the Greenprint TAC. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Garcia, please.
Thank you, Chair and members of the board. Good afternoon. I'm Oscar Garcia, representing California Environmental Voters. We'd like to thank the EEC for unanimously recommending to this body a seat from the conservation community to the Greenprint TAC committee. The TAC member will ensure that myriad of voices of the environmental and conservation community are integrated into the critical upcoming discussion that will shape the outcome of the Greenprint. California Environmental Voters also supports the proposed Greenprint TAC environmental nonprofit representative, which will ensure inclusivity of all interested communities, especially those with proven interest in smart growth and conservation in the SCAG region. A nonprofit environmental TAC representative should be a conservation expert, preferably one with experience in regional advanced mitigation programs such as RAMP, to ensure the objectives of the Greenprint TAC are met. The environmental TAC member should come from the environmental nonprofit community who has already demonstrated an interest in the RAMP policy framework via active participation in ongoing outreach, hearing, and community involvement throughout the process. In other words, they should have a standing in the process already due to their involvement with SCAG. Thank you for your time. And once again, California Environmental Voters supports the RAMP policy framework revised. Appreciate your time. Have a great day.
Thank you so much. Mr. Lopez.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the council. My name is Benjamin Lopez. I'm the Policy Director for the Inland Empire Economic Partnership. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. As you have heard from prior speakers, we are proud to support the RAMP ATG as adopted today. It took a lot of hard work from staff to hear stakeholder input, and IEP is proud to support the RAMP ATG. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Eit.
Thank you. My name is Jack Eit, representing SoCal 350 Climate Action based out of Los Angeles. We want to express our general support of the RAMP. Has been stated, RAMPs provide certainty in fact-based environmental context for regional and transportation planning and for comprehensive and effective mitigation program. It provides streamlined environmental compliance that's critical to implement these complex projects. And, you know, part of the reason the Connect SoCal is widely supported is because, you know, we can meet our greenhouse gas emission targets that have been stated through much legislation out there. And so it really gives a very clear framework to build in resiliency, you know, and of course we can't build a better climate, but we can work towards conserving what we have left. And finally, I want to say we support the environmental nonprofit representative on the technical advisory committee. We think that will ensure inclusivity and interested communities, especially those with a proven interest in smart growth and you know, conservation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Next is Ms. Corlin.
Good afternoon, Chair and members. My name is Debbie Corlin, and I'm representing the Los Angeles South Chamber of Commerce. And I would like to thank all the RAMP ATG members and all of the staff for all of the getting the stakeholder input. We actually believe the proposed RAMP policy will much better serve those in the underserved communities with more economic opportunities, responsible development with reduced costs, and job creation and improved public and private partnerships. We also believe that this took a fresh approach, and we really appreciate that. We want to commend the staff and all the partners for getting their various input and working with all the partnerships, as well as the appropriate Greenprint data tool as well. And thank you very much. And we hope that you will consider this RAMP policy framework as proposed. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next is Ms. Bagdasarian.
Hi, thank you. On behalf of the San Gabriel Valley Economic Partnership, my name is Nairi Bagdasarian. I'm the Director of Public Policy. I would like to express our appreciation of the RAMP ATG members and SCAG staff for taking the time necessary to seek additional stakeholder input on RAMP and Greenprint. We're grateful of the time spent to collaborate and communicate with the business community and other stakeholders. Based on this input and the work of SCAG staff, we believe the revised draft of the RAMP policy framework is a considerably improved document and addresses the concerns that were raised earlier in the process. And I also want to express additional support for the final proposed framework, inclusive of the 2 amendments that were made by the EEC at their meeting last month. And we also support the recommendation to add 1 more seat to the Greenprint Technical Advisory Committee for a representative from the business community with experience in RAMP to ensure balance on the committee. Again, on behalf of the partnership, I want to thank the staff and leadership for their efforts on this important issue and their commitment to take the time to get it right. Thank you, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Next is Miss Melanie Schlotterbeck.
Good afternoon, Melanie Schlotterbeck with Friends of Harbors, Beaches and Parks. The environmental coalition that supported Connect SoCal wholly supports SCAG meeting its mitigation obligations. The first of which is to create this regional advanced mitigation program. So adopting the policy framework today is a crucial first step towards meeting this legal obligation. In addition, we're grateful that the EEC understood the benefits of incorporating a single seat for a nonprofit environmental representative on the Greenprint TAC. Since 2005, FHBP formed and helped implement the Orange County Transportation Authority's Environmental Mitigation Program. More than 30 conservation and community groups supported OCTA's transportation measure because it included a mitigation program. OCTA successfully avoided litigation because of its ramp. With a SCAG ramp, areas and projects not covered by a mitigation program will benefit. We encourage SCAG to tap into the experience and partnerships available through our networks for the ramp development. Thank you for your time today and the opportunity to comment.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lewis.
Thank you. My name is Michael Lewis. I represent the Construction Industry Air Quality Coalition. I would remind you that the construction industry is one of the top 10 employers in California. Our membership is made up of the Associated General Contractors, the Building Industry Association of Southern California, the Engineering Contractors Association, and the Southern California Contractors Association. And we've spent 30 years advocating for our industry and for balance in the environmental and economic needs of our state. We've offered comments previously on the ramp and the Greenprint program, and we appreciate the attention that you've given to the concerns that our industry has expressed. I think that the revisions that you've made to the ramp have addressed our issues and created a practical framework looking forward, and we support the policy that's before you today. We would like to suggest that you, since you added a seat for the environmental community specifically on the technical advisory committee, that you also add a business seat. After all, it was, I think, collaboration with the business community that got this process restarted and brought it to the point that it's at today. I would urge you to approve the policy so that we can get on with the urgent process of developing this important mitigation program. And I hope that it becomes a tool for facilitating projects and the things that we need in Southern California and not another impediment. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Fierro.
Hi, yes. Good afternoon, Chair and members. My name is Franzella, and on behalf of the Long Beach Area Chamber of Commerce, I would like to thank the RAMP ATG members and SCAG staff for taking the time necessary to seek additional stakeholder input on RAMP and Greenprint. We appreciate the proposed policy framework because it takes fresh new approach towards Greenprint, and it clearly segregates RAMP from Greenprint, which resets the Greenprint process and provides an appropriate framework and oversight structures so that going forward, Greenprint will be on a much better path towards success. Based on the input of the work of SCAG staff, we believe that the revised draft RAMP policy framework as adopted by the RAMP ATG and recently the EEC is a much improved document and addresses the concerns that were articulated earlier in the process. We commend staff for its responsiveness to the various input received, which has made the policy framework much better in its support of the regional advanced mitigation programs and ultimately the development of an appropriate Greenprint data tool. Thank you, and we urge your adoption of the RAM policy framework as currently proposed. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Reed Wainscott.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth Reed Wainscott, and I am speaking on behalf of the Center for Biological Diversity. The center supports the policy framework for the Regional Advanced Mitigation Program. We engage with SCAG staff on ensuring that the Connect SoCal plan and program EIR contains strong plans and programs relating to the RAMP and Greenprint. And so we are supportive of SCAG taking this crucial first step in meeting its mitigation measure of creating the RAMP by adopting a policy framework. We also would like to thank the EEC for unanimously recommending to this body a seat for the conservation community to the Greenprint Technical Advisory Committee. This would signify SCAG's commitment to follow through on the promises outlined in the program EIR that are required by law. We support the recommendation that the nonprofit environmental TAC representative should be a conservation expert, preferably one with experience in regional advanced mitigation programs, to ensure the objectives of the Greenprint TAC are met. The environmental TAC member should come from the environmental nonprofit community who has already demonstrated an interest in the RAMP policy framework via active participation in the ongoing outreach, hearings, and community involvement throughout the process. The RAMP policy framework and the Greenprint sets a framework for important regional land use decisions and ensures that policymakers have all the data they need to make informed land use planning decisions. The center supports continued investment in these tools to ensure our region builds a sustainable and equitable future together. For these reasons and more, the center urges you to adopt the RAMP policy framework and the addition of a conservation representative on the TAC. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Wilson, please.
Thank you, Madam President and Regional Council members. My name is Chris Wilson with the Los Angeles County Business Federation. We want to thank SCAG and SCAG staff for working with us over the past year and a half on RAMP and the SoCal Greenprint, and for taking the time to listen to our concerns. As a result of these efforts, we believe the revised draft RAMP policy framework is a much improved document and addresses the uneasiness that had been articulated during this process. We also want to recognize and express our appreciation for the amendment approved by the Energy and Environmental Committee earlier this month, clarifying that elected officials may serve as public agency representatives on the Greenprint Technical Advisory Committee, or TAC, will be important towards strengthening the policymaking process. And while we recognize and appreciate the second amendment of adding a representative from the environmental community with experience in the RAMP to the Technical Advisory Committee, we would also like to ask for an amendment to include a representative from the business community with experience in RAMP. This will ensure a well-rounded and equitable conversation moving forward. Again, we want to thank SCAG leadership and staff for their efforts on this important issue and their willingness to take the time to get it right. Considering this, we urge the Regional Council to approve the proposed RAMP policy framework document as it was recommended by the Energy and Environment Committee, and with the one additional amendment that would include a business representative on the Greenprint Technical Advisory Committee. Thank you, Madam President and Council members.
Thank you so much. Ms. Smith.
Thank you, Madam President. This is C. Robin Smith, and I represent the Diamond Bar Preservation Foundation. It is a Pointing Chino Hills focused conservation group, and our mission prioritizes natural climate solutions, which is a powerful mitigation to climate and biodiversity crisis. Over time, we have appreciated very much the opportunity to submit additional stakeholder input, and we recognize the RAMP program and its potential of building eco-resiliency and a stronger conservation benefit area. Even though our area is in the Diamond Bar Chino Hills area, we recognize that this tool can be a great benefit to our local interests. So Diamond Bar Preservation Foundation generally supports the policy framework for the RAMP, but we also urge SCAG to appoint an environmental TAC member that comes from the environmental nonprofit community who has already demonstrated an interest in the RAMP policy framework via active participation in the ongoing outreach, hearings, and community involvement throughout the process. In other words, this person should have standing in the process already due to their involvement with SCAG. We are very appreciative of the staff and SCAG's effort to bring this project to date and putting it on the agenda. And we are grateful to be a part of the process, and thank you for your time and opportunity to comment on this agenda item.
Thank you. Next is Ms. Hansberg.
Good afternoon. My name is Elizabeth Hansberg. I'm with People for Housing Orange County. We are the Yes in My Backyard organization for Orange County, and I'm calling to support the Regional Advanced Mitigation Program Policy Framework. It's really exciting to see the conservation community and housing interests align in their support of this policy. We are advocates for more housing production to address the shortage and the affordability crisis. This project is great because it enables development projects to have more certainty, which is key to reducing the costs and reducing project delays. Housing delayed is housing denied. And this is something that we should all be in favor of, getting more projects done faster to address the ongoing housing crisis. This effort is also part of the comprehensive effort to implement Connect SoCal regional RTP, which includes improving the region's economic vitality, mobility options, and allowing the region to grow in a sustainable way that builds healthy, vibrant communities. For all of these reasons, I support the policy framework, and I would urge the council to do as well. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Rodriguez.
Good afternoon, Carlos Rodriguez with the Building Industry Association of Southern California. We believe the revised draft RAMP policy framework as unanimously adopted by the RAMP ATG and Energy and Environment Committee is a much improved document and addresses the concerns that had been expressed earlier in the process by our broad coalition from throughout the SCAG region. We urge your support of the final proposed RAMP policy framework document that is before you today, inclusive of the 2 amendments that were made by the EEC at their meeting on January 5th. We also would recommend one further amendment to the RAMP policy framework. Specifically, we recommend adding 1 more seat to the Green Print Technical Advisory Committee for a representative from the business community with experience in RAMP. Our request for a business representative is to balance the action that the SCAG's EEC took at their January meeting when they added an environmental representative to the TAC. To be clear, we support the RAMP policy framework as recommended by the EEC, inclusive of the environmental seat on TAC, but because of this additional seat, a business representative is also needed to provide balance. We commend the ATG committee, the EEC, and SCAG staff for its responsiveness to the various input received, which has made the policy framework much better in its support of regional advanced mitigation programs and ultimately the development of an appropriate green print data tool. Thank you so much for your consideration.
Thank you for your comments. Our final speaker is Ms. Pacheco.
Thank you and good afternoon. My name is Estelle Pacheco. I'm calling on behalf of Los Angeles Area Chamber of Commerce. I would like to thank the RAMP and ATG members and SCAG staff for taking the time necessary to seek additional stakeholder input on RAMP and Green Print. We would like to align our comments with that of the other business communities that have already spoken on this call. And again, thank you, and we urge your adoption of the RAMP policy framework as currently proposed.
Okay, thank you. Just kidding about the final speaker before. It's Ms. Schlotterbeck, please.
Yes, Claire Schlotterbeck, Executive Director of Hills for Everyone. We are advocates for the Puente Chino Hills Wildlife Corridor at the juncture of Los Angeles, Orange, San Bernardino, and Riverside counties. The BIA and BizFed have already advocated for the inclusion of electeds in the Green Print Technical Advisory Committee. And business interests have gotten just about everything they've asked for. And so we're concerned that SCAG won't meet its climate and environmental justice goals if you continue to follow their recommendations on environmental mitigation issues. But if a business seat is added, we urge you to adopt language with the same types of qualifications presented by the conservation community, including that this individual must reside within the SCAG region, have a demonstrated experience with RAMP, and have a history of engagement in the 2020 Connect SoCal process. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we do have 2 members of ATG who did so much work moving this forward. But before we get to them, I'd like to turn it back to our executive director.
Oh, thank you, Madam President. I just want to take a moment to thank everybody that was involved with this, all of our stakeholders and the time they all committed to spend with us over the last year plus on this. I would also be remiss if I didn't express my appreciation to the members of the ATG, the 2 remaining, as well as the ones that served and are no longer with us on the board. Their leadership was very much appreciated, and their patience going through this was exemplary. But finally, I want to thank our staff because we threw a lot at staff and they came back all the time, every time, with very responsive, informed basis for moving forward. So with that, Madam President, I will yield the mic.
Thank you so much. I believe Clint Lorimar, who served on the ATG, is on the line at this time. Do you have some words that you would like to share with us?
Thank you, Madam President. And I want to thank, as articulated by Kome just now, I want to thank, well, the other members of the ATG and also the Regional Council for approving this subgroup in order to, as has been articulated, get this right. Appreciate everybody's hard work and, of course, the input from all of the interested parties. Staff went through and took all that information and created this document, which under ATG leadership supervision, we were able to come to this place where everybody is in agreement to adopt it. So very pleased with this outcome, and a lot of hard work went into this. Looking forward to the next steps. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And also another member of the ATG, Kurt Hagman, please.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you, Clint, for a year and a half out of our life in the subcommittee. And of course, you killed off everybody else off the committee. There's only two of us left after this process. But it's a testament to Comey and his team and his staff to, if you remember where this was a year and a half ago, it was practically fighting inside this chamber rooms with no middle ground. And that it was able with the subcommittee to get to the point where you had both sides basically agree to what the product we're producing today, with the little exception of adding on another balanced member, which I would support as well, because that came out of one of our subcommittees, not out of the TAC process or of our subcommittee process. But it's a testament to taking literally this document line by line by all the groups and all the interests in there and coming out for a ramp product that everyone seems to be probably not thrilled, but supportive of. And that's always a good place for us as policy leaders to come in where we get pretty much 99% of the folks on board. So thank you for the opportunity, Clint. Thank you, Madam President, for letting me go in there. Comey, it was a stellar job by you and your staff to really go beyond going out to the communities, not just in our sub meetings we have, but go out and talk to the subgroups and try to make sausage out of the mess that we had to begin with. And we got it to a product that I think we all can be proud of and keep moving on. My sense of the next step of this will be the TAC committee. And a couple of things the subcommittee want to do is make sure that all voices was heard, and the fact that the policymakers on the regional council were heard. So it's not going to be done by staff. It can be done by staff, but each region will have a representative in the TAC technical, what does it stand for? Technical Advisory Committee. There we go. From each region that could either be elected or appointed from our regional area. And that's where all this really nitty gritty should be done. In the EAC meeting, they added on a environmental representative, which I fully support. I would, Madam President, with your indulgence, move this item, but add a business component as well, because we want all that heard in there. We don't want it heard up here. And when we know when the TAC meeting sends out their information for this regional council in the future, that all sides were heard on the committee going forward. So I'll make that motion.
And Madam President, this is Mayor Roberts.
Yes.
I just would like to second it.
Oh, wait a minute, Deborah, I'm in front of you.
Oh my God, Karen. Okay. No, and I have
so we
reasons
do
why,
have
but wait, I have
we have a
reasons why.
motion and a second. So are there any additional comments?
Yes, I had my hand raised. I wanted to, again, thank the team. I mean, Kurt kind of said the statement that not everybody's be happy. That is a true consensus on any item. We never get everybody happy on something. And the fact that we're on two ends of the spectrum and came together and worked together. So everybody who's involved, from our staff to those Kurt and Clint that were on the team, and of course, every one of you that called in and that made your comments, it seemed to be overwhelming is that people we're together on this and the final product. There's always going to be work to move forward, but it's really appreciated that when we get so much response that we are moving forward in the right direction, because we don't always get that. So thank you.
Thank you. And
Madam.
yes, ma'am. Deborah Robertson, you had something you wanted to add?
Yes, other than seconding the motion, I too wanted to just take the moment to say, as the chair of the Energy and Environment Committee, where this came, and pretty much heard from those that have already spoke, I also want to thank those who were involved with taking this on a year ago and bringing it up to the point where it came to the EEC. I want to thank those who continue to reach out and talk. As I said to some who talked to me, the fact that the business community was willing to see the going forward of a member from the environmental community to have a seat at the technical, I was surprised that they had not asked for the same. But I think all of us were trying to get to a point where maybe we find common ground, or as somebody say, equally, we all have to accept that we want to move forward and we want to get this going. So I just wanted to echo all that was said by Clint and Kurt, and also thank everybody and thank the staff. It's been a long journey, and that's why I wanted to second the motion, because I think we're going to have to realize that we're both in this together. It's an environmental concern, but it's still progress, and the fact that we have to move this region forward. So that's it. That's why I'm going to keep my hand up. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to take a couple comments in the room, and I'm going to start with Larry McCallum, please.
Thank you, Madam President. I just have a couple of questions. Will this tech operate under the Brown Act, and will Form 700s be required?
Good.
Would you? I'd be happy to answer that, Mr. McClellan. I've spent some time thinking about that topic, and because the TAC, which is different than many of our TACs, which are just staff generated and operated as a staff advisory capacity, this still will be a staff advisory capacity. But because it's being directed by the regional council, my position is that this group will comply with the Brown Act and will be required to file Form 700s.
Thank you. I just wanted to get that clarified.
Thank you. Valuable question. We have two more comments. Ms. Becerra.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do, and I don't know if this is the time, I have a substitute motion, ma'am. My motion would be we accept it as it is, with the caveat that we add someone from the business community. I don't know if we have to have that in the vote, but in hearing everybody in this, go ahead, I'm sorry, ma'am.
That is the motion on the table.
That is the motion on
Yes,
the table.
ma'am.
It did amend with the business member. That was my original motion.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, sir, I did not hear that. Thank you then to the group, to everybody involved. Thank you. Good work.
Okay, thank you. And Ms. Crosswhite.
I took my hand down and forgot to unmute. Just a clarification question on the motion. So the actual motion said that we were adding a business component. Does that mean that as one of the speakers mentioned, that first person will have similar qualifications to the environmental member, where they'll need to live in the SCAG region, have a history of engagement and experience with RAMP, or does that not? I just wanted clarification on that.
I'll allow the motion maker to answer, please.
Thank you. Jenny, my intention is to have, I mean, a lot of the members of when we're elected or someone we designate from our region will obviously is going to be very technical in nature, but we're not going to come in with all the same expertise. The amendment made on the EAC committee was to add an environmental member. We're going to be my motion at this time is just adding a business member of the community. I'm fine with them living in the SCAG region, but as far as being the same technical stuff, I think it brings a different perspective. And that's the point of bringing the business member on, is the technical environmental expertise versus the practical of the building, and have those people debate that in TAC.
Would you answer?
But
yeah, just to clarify, there was no specific qualifications in the environmental position added by the EEC. So I think it would be up to the nominations that come in, and we'll take due diligence in appointing the right rep from either group, from both groups to the committee. So I just want to make sure we're clarifying that there is no specific, it was mentioned in the public comments, but there is no specific qualifications in the resolution that came out of the EEC.
Yes,
you for
there
the
was.
clarification.
Yes, there was. It was ramp experience. I made the motion.
Yes, okay, I stand corrected. There was general recommendation of who we should pick, but I think there were some more specifics mentioned today that I want to make sure that we don't pile that on to the motion, because that was not part of the motion. We have the wording of the motion from the EEC.
Okay, thank you. So we do have a motion and a second. And who knows, this might be one of our very last roll call votes. So may we have a roll call vote? Remember, this is alphabetical, so please be ready.
Madam President, and just for the record, we have Kurt Hagman making the first motion, seconded by Deborah Robertson.
Yes, Madam Clerk.
Ashley Aiken,
Aye.
Cindy Allen,
Aye.
Adele Andrade Stadler,
Aye.
Constantine Anthony, Catherine Barger, Karen Bass, Elizabeth Becerra,
Aye.
Bob Blumenfield, Gary Boyer,
Yes.
Drew Boyles,
Yes.
Art Brown, Wendy Bucknam,
Yes.
Letitia Clark,
Yes.
Margaret Clark,
Yes.
Jenny Crosswhite,
Yes.
Kevin De Leon, Steve DeRuse, Keith Ike,
Keith Ike, yes.
thank you, Margaret Finley,
Yes.
James Gaisley,
Aye.
Brian Goodell,
Aye.
Kurt Hagman, Ray Hamada, Jan Harnick,
Yes.
Marquise Harris Dawson, Mark Henderson,
Yes.
Eunices Hernandez, Laura Hernandez,
Yes.
Heather Hutt, Mike Judge, Joe Kelmick.
Yes.
Yes, sorry.
Sorry, was that Judge as well?
Yes, couldn't find the
Thank
unmute.
you. Kathleen Kelly,
Yes.
Tammy Kim,
Yes.
Laura Clayman,
Yes.
and my apologies, that's Lauren Clayman, Paul Krikorian, Linda Krupa,
Yes.
John Lee, Patricia Locke Dawson,
Aye.
Vianney Lopez, Clint Lorimore,
Aye.
Ken Mann, Steve Manos,
Aye.
Ray Marquez,
Yes.
Andrew Maciel, Larry McCallan,
Yes.
Casey McKeon, Marsha McLean,
Abstain.
Tim McOsker,
Yes.
Dennis Michael,
Yes.
Maricela Nava,
Yes.
Maria Nava Frolic,
Yes.
Frank Navarro,
Yes.
Kim Nguyen,
Yes.
Oscar Ortiz, Tracy Park, Luis Blancarte,
Yes.
Karen Price, Randall Putz,
Yes.
Sandy Rains,
Yes.
Nithya Raman,
Yes.
Gil Rebollar,
Aye.
Rocky Rhodes,
Abstain.
Rex Richardson, Deborah Robertson,
Yes.
thank you, Monica Rodriguez, Ali Saleh, Tim Sandoval,
Sandoval, yes.
Zach, thank you, Zach Schwank,
Schwank, yes.
David Shapiro,
Yes.
Marty Siminoff, Jose Luis Solache, Hilda Solis, Hugo Soto Martinez, Karen Spiegel,
Spiegel, yes.
Steve Ty, Benjamin Vasquez,
Yes.
Donald Wagner, Alan Wapner,
Yes.
Frank Yokoyama.
Wagner, aye.
Noted, thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Katie Yaroslavsky. Madam President, the motion for item 3 passes with 49 votes yes, 0 votes no, and 2 abstentions.
Thank you, but like really, thank you. Okay. Okay, we have now completed all the numbered items on our agenda, and we're going to move to the remaining administrative items. And do we have any public comment on any of those items?
Madam President, I do not see any raised hands.
Okay, we will turn to our business representative, Regional Council Member Lucy Dunn for a report.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam President. In the interest of time, I will make this very, very brief, but I have written up my report and sent it out to Javiera. And so for business or for colleagues on the Regional Council who would like a more robust report, happy to share that. I first want to begin by thanking you for that last vote on ramp. As you can see, it was a good demonstration of when the GLUE Council, the business community gets together, how we can be very, very supportive of all those great, difficult, it takes a village actions that need to happen to meet those climate change goals, transportation and housing goals. So thank you for that. Next, a thank you for Jenna Hornstock. Jenna has been a great resource for us on the GLUE Council, your business advisory group. And we're losing Jenna in a sense to a wonderful opportunity for her career as deputy mayor to Karen Bass with the focus on housing and homelessness. So she's got a strong fan base here with her business community to help the city tackle that issue. And if LA can fix it, then it can be fixed. So, and I think if the woman in charge with Jenna Hornstock there, it will be fixed. So brava, Jenna, and thank you for your leadership on GLUE Council. We had economic quick hits to inform Connect SoCal. We talked a lot about the small business community concerns in our last meetings, particularly the fact that banks are pulling back on capital for small business right now, sort of in anticipation, we think, of a recession. We're all watching how costs to small business are hitting, especially mom and pop shops, a lot. And that not only includes costs of goods, utilities, a lot of discussion on utilities rates being so high now, increased labor costs, and those all keep growth of small business down. It's important to watch the small business community, particularly as we develop the next Connect SoCal, because it's about 90% of the entire state's economy is based on small business. And so it's something to keep an eye on. We also noted Dr. Wallace Warrod has been working on the Draper Innovation Index, and California has actually fallen from 11th most innovative state to the 14th most innovative. Our venture capital is still strong, but the state continues to be listed as 49th out of 50th in positive small business policy. So things to think about. We also heard a little presentation, very short, quick presentation by George Tita of UCI's Livable Communities Lab, who presented his findings on the recent study of affordable housing impacts on community crime and existing home values. So often, my colleagues here on the Regional Council hear from their residents that please don't build that project. because it's going to increase crime and it's going to reduce the value of my home. And actually, Mr. Tita did a study on that very issue and showed pretty conclusively in Orange County, of all affordable housing projects, it had no impact. In fact, sometimes it reduced crime in an area, and it actually, building affordable housing actually increased existing home values. So a little bit more information on that one there. And last but not least, a lot of great updates and comments by the business community on the clean transportation technology policy that SCAG staff is working on, as well as Connect SoCal, the local data exchange, the legislative agenda, and housing updates. So a strong, robust committee meeting for the GLUE Council, Madam President, and we're continuing to watch inflation. Looks like some little bit of good news coming forth that disinflation is the new buzzword, is starting to look pretty good, but the Fed still increased interest rates, which, you know, in light of the costs of workforce, it's still going to be an issue for your business community for a while. So we'll keep an eye on the economy for you. Anyway, that's it, and a lot more information in my written report for those that may be interested. Thank you for the time. Happy to take questions.
Are there any questions of our business representative? And I see none in the room, and I see none virtually. Thank you for that information, and I do look forward to receiving the more in-depth business report. So thank you. So we'll move to my report, remote meeting participation. This may be our last regional council meeting that will be virtual and under the COVID-19 emergency order. And I think it's good news. It means we're coming out of the pandemic. We get to work with each other, see each other, and hear from each other a little more astutely, I think. While most of us will participate in the Regional Council and Policy Committee meetings in person, I understand that the emergency order has given some much needed flexibility during the last 2 years. But the Brown Act requires that remote participants provide their location and allow it to be acceptable to the public. So what we are trying to do at SCAG is we're looking at making one regional office available for this purpose, but capacity is limited, and there will be more information that will be sent out on email regarding that possibility. I do want to welcome our new regional council members, and can we put those on the screen? There are just a tremendous number of new members who will be joining us at SCAG, and normally we would read these off, but since I've been on SCAG, I've never seen this many new members. So please take note. They will be, of course, entered appropriately into the record. But these are, let's see, 10 new regional council members. So we welcome them and look forward to bringing them on board and bringing them up to date. To touch on the mobile tours we've taken, we've recently had 3 mobile tours, the Riverside Transit Agency Vine Street Hub and the California Air Resources Board, Southern California Headquarters Campus, and Los Angeles International Airport. And we did hear from Riverside Transit CEO Kristen Warsinski, and she talked about the hub and the funding sources linked to the construction of affordable housing in Riverside. The CARB tour included a detailed walkthrough of the CARB auditorium and testing labs. They do expect that to be fully operational in 2024. And at LAX, we saw the facilities administration building and received information presentations on LAX ground improvement projects, data coordination and sharing efforts. And this will be very interesting as we come up to the Olympics and Paralympics, all the efforts they have made to make this a great experience for all the guests to those events. And then for us afterwards. The National Association of Regional Council, we recently went, and we was Come Agise, Javiera Cartaneja, And Kevin Gilhooly and myself, we went to NARC in Washington, DC. We also met with several of our representatives while we were there on the key policy issues that really are so important to our region. So we met with Senator Padilla's staff. We also met with Robert Garcia, Ken Calvert, Young Kim, and Mike Garcia. And please take our legislative priorities quickly are advocating for funding for the Active Transportation Investment Program and the Healthy Streets Program, securing funding to conduct airport surface transportation passenger and cargo studies through the reauthorization of the Federal Aviation Act, inclusion of robust funding for critical housing programs to address our region's housing needs, and ensuring that Southern California receives its fair share of federal resources to address the water crisis. I also want to give a special shout out to RC member Cindy Allen from Long Beach, who joined us for a special meeting with Congressman Robert Garcia. It was great to see her in Washington, DC. So we'll move to the appointments to several of our committees, and thank you all for your service as part of these groups. And there we go on the screen, the General Assembly Hosts Committee. They will be supporting the planning and fundraising for our annual signature event, which I believe is May 3rd and 4th, the JW Marriott in Palm Desert. So the names are on the screen of those members who have volunteered to help us out with that effort. Then we'll move to the Bylaws and Resolution Committee, and they will be, this committee will review changes to any of our current bylaws and resolutions. And again, that's on your screen, and it will be entered into the report as appropriate. And then we have the Nomination Committee, which reviews the candidates for officer positions at the Regional Council. Those are up on our screen as well. And then the Scholarship Committee. And we have a number of our members who have volunteered to be on that committee. It's an important committee. It certainly lays out the future for us, and Margaret Finlay will be chairing that committee. So please take a look and see who those people are who volunteered to give their time and expertise to these efforts. Upcoming meetings. There will be individual policy committee meetings in March. There will be none. Instead, we will hold a joint meeting of the policy committees, and the meeting is scheduled for Thursday, March 2nd from 9:30 to 11:30. And the focus will be to work on the Connect SoCal subcommittees and the recommendation. And then the next regional council meeting will be held following that joint meeting. And again, that's March 2nd at 12 p.m. And at that, I'm going to turn it over to our executive director, Komi Ajise.
Thank you, Madam President. In the 30 seconds that I have, I want to first of all thank you for the action taken on item 9. It allows us to move forward with submitting the compliance action plan to the state with regards to the STBG-CMAQ program. I also want to just remind you that we will be coming back to a joint policy committee meeting in March 2nd to hopefully sort of highlight the findings and recommendations coming out of the 3 subcommittees that were set up to look at emerging issues for Connect SoCal. And I also want to thank member Keith Ike for the time, generous time given to me on Friday to visit with him and to see all of the issues and opportunities in the city of La Cañada, Flint Ridge. It just doesn't do justice to the time that he gave me, but I want to make sure I mention a thank you for that. And then finally, I'll be remiss if I don't also recognize the fact that we are losing Jenna Hornstock from our team, but we're happy that she is going to do some good work with the mayor. She has been appointed as the deputy mayor for housing for the city of LA. Jenna was tremendous in helping us set up both the REAP 1, REAP 2 programs, and in fact, just setting up the housing program here at SCAG. So great loss to us, but we are happy for her because it's a tremendous opportunity that she has. And so with that, Madam Chair, I yield the mic.
Okay, are there any announcements or future agenda items? And I am looking in the room and I see none. And are there any virtually? Ms. McLean, please.
Yes, hi. I am just curious to know that did everyone who volunteered for a committee get the appointment, or was there a process that was gone through?
I believe there was a process and the process really was about making sure that the entire SCAG region was represented well, so that we could do the best job for the entire region.
That's great, except the North County kind of gets short shrifted many, many times.
Well, we'll take a look at that. That certainly wasn't our impression during the process, but we will look at that. And thank you for your comments. Are there any other announcements or agenda items that they would like to add? No? Okay, seeing no unfinished business, we will